What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. I am playing the music right now, but as always, I will turn it off. If I remember, I will turn it off before we get into the technical analysis. I realize it is distracting for some people, and I don't want to distract anybody. Anyways, while I'm distracting myself, let's get into this. We're talking about Bitcoin for Flower Child and more impersonal for Buckaroo. You wanted me to talk about the long term and even into the bear market after the cycle highs. You wanted me to talk about what I could see price doing in 2028. Now I'm going to say that's a tall order, man. That's years away. That's a lot can happen, a lot can change. It all depends on where we top out, but I will do the best of my abilities, assuming with what we have, what we could see potentially the price action look like in 2028. So anyways, before we get to that, let's start off small. Let's look at the more immediate term stuff. Let's see what Bitcoin's going to do over the days, over the weeks, maybe over the months even. Let's start with the 4 hour. Oh right, and I got to turn off the music. See, I almost forgot, but I didn't forget. If you guys haven't hit that like button, hit that like button. Subscribe if you would like to. I really do appreciate it, man. I know sometimes it feels like I watch videos sometimes and like it's like just, I don't know, it seems like extra work to hit that like button, or you just don't want to for whatever reason. But like, man, it really does help, and it doesn't do anything to you. I mean, all it's going to do if you hit the like button is you're going to see more videos that involve crypto. So if you don't want that, then don't hit the like button. But if you hit the like button, odds are you will see more videos like this, either from me or from other people who are talking about similar subjects. That's what the algorithm does. So but if this is just a one-off and you're randomly watching it, then maybe the like button's not for you. But anyways, looking at the more immediate term on the 4 hour, yes, we are above the 618 after the first. I guess this would be the second interaction with it technically, but broke through it nice and clean, decent volume, not tremendous volume, but decent volume. Holding above the 69, above the 618 for sure. Wrestling this 786. I will say that this does leave the opportunity, the option to go up to 72K. We absolutely could go there, and we might see that rejection and begin our journey down to that 57, 58K area. Or guys, the tides might be turning. If we can sustain prices above the 886, if we can move up above $72,214 essentially and stay there, both on a 4 hour and on a daily perspective, like if we were doing this, essentially what we're doing right now, but if we had that above the 886, likely we're going to 78K, 83K, even beyond that. Yes, we could be making a move right now up to like 95K. Like, genuinely speaking, this move down to 57, 58K, it might not happen. It genuinely might not happen. But the only thing that's making me keep it on the table really is the fact that we've had somewhat of a breakout of this consolidation. I would definitely say that is a breakout, but the volume is not impressive at all. And if we go to BTC USDT on Binance, it's a little bit more impressive. I'll give it that. It's actually a little bit more impressive. Still not super impressive, but it actually does look a lot better on Binance than it does on Coinbase. But it's just curious to see if this will continue, or is this kind of like a bull trap in itself and then we go down. It is, after all, a lower high. Looking at the 4 hour RSI, it doesn't look bad. The 4 hour RSI really doesn't look bad, and in fact, closing this 4 hour green would look really good. I guess we already had that with the last one, so yeah, we already look good. We're bouncing off the 60. I would assume we press higher. Let's see how we do with that 72 to 72.5 thousand dollar area. I'm really curious. That'll probably happen today, tomorrow, the next day. I mean, if within the next couple days or the next day we're above that, well above that, then I mean, especially if we break this high here. We're going up to, like, what was it, 78K to 83K, potentially 95K or something like that, right? Yeah, 77.5, 83K, 93, almost 94K, yeah, stuff like that. So that would all, again, be dependent on if we can break above this 886. On a 4 hour, that'd be fine, but I would like to see it for like multiple 4 hour candles. On a daily, for sure, that'd be nice. That'd be very indicative that we are at least moving up to this zone. But yeah, I like the 4 hour RSI. Let's look at the daily. I got one guy who says he does the opposite. So now that I'm bullish, I wonder if he'll go short, man. And hey, maybe it'll go down. Again, I did say that this is a bull trap. I did say that I am still expecting those lows, those 57K to 58K lows are still on the table. I'm not even actually considering that the levels I was just talking about at 77.5K to potentially upwards to 94K. I'm not even assuming that that's going to happen right now. I'm just listing it as a possibility if we can do well with the 72.5K area, which I believe we're going to now. I believe we're going to that zone, but I want to see how we do. Because right now my expectation is we go up to that zone, we find resistance, and then we kind of form this double top, and then we go down, we form a lower low. That's my assumption right now, in case I'm not being clear. And that's not me playing both sides. If we were to just make a straight run up here, I mean, if we interact well with that 72K area and we break through it, absolutely, I will have been wrong in my assumptions that we'll go to that 57, 58K area. Absolutely, I will have been. But I will still adjust my opinion, my directional heading in an appropriate amount of time, in my opinion, for this thing to continue going higher. It's bearish up here. Wasn't as bullish down here, but I definitely was bearish down at these levels. But I even called for this day to actually be green. Not that I'm trying to like nitpick when I'm right or wrong, because dude, who cares? I'll be wrong, I'll be right. It's inevitable. Never going to be right 100% of the time. Never going to be wrong 100% of the time. But this one guy, man, he's getting off on his own jokes. He starts talking about my hairline. It's not the best hairline out there, guys. But the thing is, the sad reality of it is those jokes don't get to me, man. They used to get to me when I was 17. I've had this same hairline, man, since I was 15, and I used to wear a hat all the time to like cover it up. But then whenever I stopped wearing a hat, people would point it out. Man, I'm well beyond 17 now. I don't know what happened, guys. It receded when I was in high school, and it stopped receding. It's not a receding hairline, it's receded. It's already done, man. It's done its thing, and it's all the men in my family look like this. They've got the same kind of hairline. I don't know what it's about, but you can crack jokes on the hairline all you want, man. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all. I think I look distinguished, but enough about enough about that. Let's get to the TA. Hit that like button, you guys, if you like the hairline. Top to bottom here. No, not top to bottom. I'm sorry, we just did that. Looking at the daily RSI, we are looking pretty good. It would be interesting if we rejected from this area today. If we did something today where we went up to that 72K area that I was talking about, we came back down to these levels or lower, it would look like we're rejecting off the 60 area, the bullish area of control. Now, even if we get into it, that doesn't mean we can't just reject out of it, right? We've done this before, and it provided somewhat of a decent drop, and we might see a continuation of this leg down. I will say, again, just based off of this relative fib, that this interaction that we're having with the fib, breaking up above the 618, is very encouraging for continuation upwards. But I'm not sold on it until we break that 72.2K area. I feel like I've said enough. I feel like I've repeated myself a lot on the short-term analysis. So let's go out to the long-term analysis and try to predict where we can see these cycle highs coming in, and potentially where we could see price being in 2028. Man, 2028. This is out of the ordinary for me. I don't know why those lines keep popping up, man. I've saved it a bunch. I'm just going to save it now. There we go, saved. Hopefully there's nothing that's like that I just messed up. Yeah, no, it all looks fine. All right, so anyways, first all-time high, the very first all-time high, right? It's very discernible. You can see that is the first all-time high. Absolutely it is, okay? And then we had a bit of a pullback afterwards. So all-time high to low, cycle high to cycle low. Come on now. We went all the way up to the 2272. I've done this a bunch of times. You guys know where I'm going with it already, but for anybody that's new, just bear with me, you guys. This is why we're doing it. That's why I don't mind explaining things over and over again, because I have 5,165 subscribers last I looked, so thank you all, by the way, for that. That's still a very low amount. Every day, every month, every week, I'm getting new subscribers, and it might be your first time ever hearing this. So that's why I will go over the same kind of ideas over and over again to keep it fresh. But top to bottom, cycle high to cycle low, we went up to that 2272 again, right? From this cycle high to this cycle low, we went all the way up to the 2272 fib extension right here, literally right there. And then the next cycle, high to low, we went right up to the 2272. That's where both cycles topped out. Last cycle was the only time that we did not see the 2272, and we in fact went to the 1618. And I've been saying this, you guys, I've been saying this since we were in the bear cycle times. I've been saying this, that I believe this cycle will be stronger than the previous cycle. Okay, so we can think of that in two respects. One, the last cycle was the only time that we didn't go to the 2272. We went to the 1618. So already on a fib perspective, I believe we will surpass this on a Bitcoin cycle high. The 2272, for reference, is at 462K. All right, $462,000. But also, it'll be stronger than the last bull market in a sense of overall percentage growth. So if we took this, which is 2,100%, and we put that essentially right at the bottom, the base of our low for the cycle low, that would put us right between the 1886 and the 2272. And because I do expect this cycle to be stronger than the last cycle, both in a fib perspective and a percentage growth perspective, I very much assume the next target, what is just very simply right there, plainly right there, something that we've seen in multiple cycles out of what's going to be the fourth Bitcoin cycle right here. 2 out of 3 have hit the 2272. The last cycle we didn't, and we had a lot of negative things going on, specifically toward the end of the bull cycle, that prevented Bitcoin from seeing higher prices. I think it wanted to. I think it was destined for it, but there were other things going on in the world that held it back. That's not what this video is about. You can reference those times. We had COVID times. Trump and Biden transitioned, from presidency, and not technically in 2021, but 2020, right? We had Ukraine and all that stuff. It's quantitative tightening, inflation, all that stuff going on back then, man. It's different now. So I think we will have a stronger cycle. But let's assume that we do in fact go to the 2272. I've been calling now for a while a 400 to 500K Bitcoin by the end of this cycle. And I'm very confident in that. I know it sounds crazy, man. But hey, first time ever we've been above all-time highs before a halving. We're showing strength that we've never shown before. Okay, let's just imagine that that's where we go. And I would assume that we could see 500K, but that's such a psychological level. I would almost anticipate that we reach for it, but we don't quite hit it. If we do hit it, we'll likely go well past it. We'll see like 510, 520, something like that. Make people think it's just going to go straight to a million, and then we dump off hard. That'd probably be a really strong blow off top scenario. But even just below 500K, I think could promote that same kind of scenario. But anyways, let's assume it goes somewhere up around there. All right, between 460 and 500K. So if we take what would be essentially, let's do the lows. I suppose we can do the lows. I haven't looked at it from that perspective, or maybe it's been some time since I have. We found our low on the 1618 from the 2272, right? Cycle high, cycle low right there. Okay, so cycle high here to cycle low. We went below the 1618. We didn't quite reach the 1414, but we tipped the 1618 actually on the second attempt down and found support there. Kind of interesting, right? So just below the 1618 both times, right? I believe this was just below. I'm gonna double check this real quick. Yeah, just below it. And you did technically get 2 attempts both times. This one went well below it, but still 2 attempts both times, to be completely fair. High. This is the only cycle where we haven't had that either. Come on now. High to low. Found support on the 886, so a deeper kind of extension or retracement there. But we did hit the 1618 for resistance, so I feel like that's appropriate. Anyways, generally speaking, also at this kind of look, whenever you find support on the 886 after rejecting the expected zone of extensions, which is not just, I'm not talking about for Bitcoin, I'm talking about for fibs in general. The 1272 to the 1618 is something that I've classically or commonly identified as the expected zone for extensions, right? This is kind of your realm of expectations where anything beyond that should be considered, but it's less likely. You do likely turn around in these areas. Not for Bitcoin, but for most things. And pulling back after rejecting this area, pulling back to your 886, finding support specifically on the 886, gears you up for a phenomenal movement. And I think we've already seen, we've already seen that here, but I'm not just saying that because this is what the chart looks like. I'm saying that because this is what any chart that does this exact same thing would look like. And then it basically guarantees that you would at least see this move. So I really do believe Bitcoin will at a minimum see six figures, but truthfully, I think 200K, 400K is child's play. I think we will see prices up toward 500,000, but maybe not quite there. So anyways, the idea from this look would be that we go up maybe to the 2272, the 1886, or higher, of course. But we found support on the 886. I'm getting a little bit sidetracked here. I want to take this into consideration now. So high to low. If we were to go to the 2272, and like the previous cycles, besides the last one, we hit the 2272 and we come down to find support on the 1618. So I'm assuming that the cycle ends, you guys, somewhere in October of 2025. Now it's either going to end in October. I mean, it could end later. It could end, truthfully, maybe like it ends in December. Maybe it ends in November. Maybe it ends in June, July. But I'm personally kind of considering this July to October timeframe. More comfortably, I would say the middle to the end of 2025. Okay, the second half, if that makes sense, which is technically June to August, but I'm refining it a little bit to July and October. So let's do a little box. Let's do a little box. That's not the box I want. Where are we at? There's the box. All right, 2272 right here. This is where I think we're going. Somewhere in this kind of realm. Something like that, yeah. Something like that. It's a very small box, but that's what we got, man. So that's our target zone, all right? Now, if we were to go all the way up here, the idea would be that we pull back to the 1618 twice, okay? Where's the brush? Where am I? I'm getting sidetracked here. There we go. Brush. Move up something like this, essentially, right? And that might look crazy. That's like a straight line right there for sure. I get it. But let's look at this. Let's look at this from other cycles perspectives, okay? Let's do this real quick, and we'll move on. I promise. Just so it seems less crazy. That's not that's not it. Let's see something. Try to draw a straight line if I can. Something like that. Something like that. Something like that. And then something like that. Maybe here I'll get rid of the fibs because I guess we don't need those anymore. We actually will need them in a second, but I can just draw them again. Something like that maybe, okay? So really, if we compare it to the last cycle's slope, it's pretty similar, actually. It's very similar to the last cycle's slope. That's what I'm asking for, essentially, is that. Just without this stop at the top here, right? We continue on this upward trajectory instead of stopping at the top. Compared to the cycle before, dramatically less of a slope. The cycle before, even less, of course. And then the very first cycle, as expected, you'd be less. So you can see how, as crazy as it might sound, as impossible or difficult as it might seem, that this kind of connection will happen in this amount of time. I think compared to any cycle that we've seen, it's perfectly acceptable. It's actually like on the lower end of extremes that we've seen, and that makes sense as we get a higher market cap, and it's actually very directly comparable to the previous cycle that we had. So assuming that we go up there, okay, establishing that that is a completely realistic possibility to achieve. I'm not saying that it has to happen. We could stop at 200K. You never know what happens, but I'm just saying for anybody looking at this and saying, dude, there's no way, this guy's got his head in the clouds. I don't know how you can say that after what I just showed you. I personally don't know. And maybe I do. Maybe I really do have my head in the clouds, and that's why I can't see it the way that you're seeing it. But I'm just saying, literally basing it off of that, simple trajectories based off of cycle to cycle, fib extensions that we've seen cycle to cycle, I think it very much makes sense that we could see this exact price in this specific area of time, okay? Now let's assume that we pull back. How long did it take for us to move down to the cycle lows each time? The first cycle was very, very short, okay? Very, very, very short. 4 bars, 4 months. The next cycle, a little bit longer, and actually I drew that wrong. We found a very technical double bottom, so I'm going to count it from the first low, not the second low. And then same thing here, first low. So 4 bars, 14 bars, 12 bars. I would say this is an outlier. Probably won't take us 4 bars to find our low. Something like this makes sense. A year to a year and a half, let's say. A year and a half is longer than either of these, but let's just keep it a year to a year and a half from the high. So let's assume that that high happened in July. Again, we don't know when the high is actually going to be, so this is completely speculative, but high in July, that would put us potentially to find our low in July of 2026. July to 2026, or what would it be? 18, right? Maybe January of 2027. So July, basically halfway through 2026 to the beginning of 2027 could be where we find our low. Not just based off of that, but also based off of the end of that little square there. 12 bars would be October 2026, late 2026, and then 18 would be close to the mid of 2027. So sometime in 2026, probably mid 2026 or late 2026 is when I would expect that we'd see the low, and potentially as late as early 2027. That'd be when we see the low, but that's not when we're necessarily breaking out to new highs yet, are we? We tend to consolidate for a little bit, don't we? Afterwards, start breaking out 9 bars later. Arguably, this is like a nice kind of bull trap, and then we move down sideways. I don't know. We did move up pretty high in a short amount of time, but we didn't really break this zone for a long time. That's kind of hard to say. I wouldn't expect that we'd see this kind of scenario. And then here even we did consolidate for a while. We found our low and we bounced up, but really we consolidated for like 7 bars, 9 bars, and this is a bit different. Who knows? It could be the same thing, but man, this is very, very speculative stuff. So let's assume we move down right to our 1618, somewhere around here, maybe around here, something in this bubble here, just like that, right? We would probably come back up at some point, maybe to our 1886, maybe just above it, whatever, and then we'd come back down for a second attempt as we have both times before. And then we would look to move on. So I would assume 2028, based off of this total speculative glance, based off of what we've seen before, which isn't really saying much because we only have really 2 iterations that we're basing it off of. Again, the last cycle bouncing off the 886 would not even be comparable to this. But assuming that we see something like this, it could be as early as 2028, like in early 2028, late 2027, that we break above the midway kind of high that we have, which in this cycle was here, right? In this cycle, arguably, kind of would have been like right there. I mean, I suppose it could have. I don't know, man. It's so weird. This is just such a weird. For this cycle, definitely would have been right here, right? Something like that. And each time, what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 months that we broke above it. Technically, I guess it would have been like here. That would have been 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 4th month, we broke above it. Okay, a little consistency there. And then here, that was a lot longer that it took to break above it. I don't know. Shorter bear market, longer consolidation. Longer bear market, shorter consolidation. I don't know if that applies as well. But totally speculative here. I would assume that in 2028, based off of this rough estimation that we're going off of all the madness, you guys, that we would start to see Bitcoin turning up again. At that point, I would expect that we've not only found our cycle low, but that we've likely found our higher low of the cycle, if not somewhat of a double bottom. I don't think we'll get a double bottom as we did last time, or on this cycle here. It could be something like this, or it could be something even like this cycle where the next low, the higher low, is significantly higher. It might not look anything like this at all. This is so far away, and we don't even have our actual high, so it's completely speculative, but it would make sense that in 2028 we would start to move up, because also taking it from kind of a raw perspective of highs to whenever we broke our all-time high, that was 20 bars, that we broke it was 20 bars. High, we broke it here, 41 bars. High, and we broke it here, 36 bars. I would assume this is a one-off, right? Early times, early beginnings, things are moving faster. More kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Referable times, more relevant times. High here, we broke our high here, 28 bars, so it's actually getting shorter if we really think about it. But let's assume that the cycle ends in October. I'm saying October to July. So it'd be like mid-August, early September, something like that. I don't know. Let's just say September, and let's assume 28 bars again before we break the next high. I mean, that would put us. That'd be in 2027. I don't know about that, man. I personally don't know about that. Or if we go to like 36 bars, that's the end of 2027, that we could start to be breaking this high. I could see that happening. It could be that we would break that high. That still seems early to me. I don't know. 2041 or no, 41 bars, 2028. Man, I'm going all over the place. I feel like I'm losing it, man. I feel like I'm losing it. It's really hard. It's really, really hard to project something out when we don't even have our anchor points. So I'm just going to call it there, man. I turned the music on because I thought I was coming to an end, but I'm definitely at an end now. I would expect that in 2028, it is completely possible that we are already above our current cycle that we're going for as highs, which would be above 400, below 500K, somewhere in there. And if we're not above there, I would assume that we are probably likely going to be above, what was it? What were all these? I have to go way, way back, man. We're going all the way back. We'd probably be above 200K, maybe even above 300K. So that's the best that I got, man. That was at the end there, guys, totally speculative. It took a while to go on. You know, I was picking my brain, but hopefully I was picking yours too. Stuff to think about, but that is a long ways away. And again, you know, most of all this price action you can see has not happened yet, right? And it doesn't have to look anything like this. You know, like it, you might as well draw whatever you want because it probably won't look exactly like this. I'm drawing it based off of ideals that we've seen with interactions based on the fibs before. That's really it. So it could look exactly like this, but if it does, that's not skill on my behalf. That is luck. That's just like dumb luck at that point. But it could look exactly like that. That is, you know, it's relative to like what we've seen before. But I got nothing else to say, guys. I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit that like button. Subscribe to see more. If you like seeing me squirm a little bit, trying to figure out how to do this, definitely hit that like button. And I appreciate you guys. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.